They killed my baby. I don't wish this on nobody.
Police say that 21-year-old Keon King turned himself in here to police headquarters last night. They are still searching for Kada Scott and are still treating this as a missing persons case. Their main goal right now is to find her. But take a look at your screen. This is the vehicle that police are in a desperate search for right now. It's a 1999 Toyota Camry, license plate number MSX0797. It has heavy front end damage. Investigators say it has been in every corner of this city.
On the night of October 4th, 2025, 23-year-old Kada Scott arrived for her overnight shift at a senior living facility in Philadelphia. She parked her car, clocked in, and entered the building, following the same routine she had for months. By the early hours of the morning, she was gone. Her phone stopped transmitting signals. Her car remained in the lot, and no one saw her leave. In the following days, law enforcement tracked unusual activity involving a young man with a prior criminal record, a stolen vehicle, and multiple locations linked to her disappearance. Weeks later, anonymous tips led investigators to an abandoned school where evidence and human remains were found. Surveillance footage, vehicle tracking, and forensic analysis began to reveal a chain of events that would point to premeditation, multiple charges, and a search for accomplices. The full story would expose gaps in prior investigations and the complexity of the crime. Every case starts with evidence and ends with truth. We examine facts, not theories, details, not drama. This is Sunday Crime, where investigations speak for themselves. Subscribe now and stay updated as we uncover the facts behind every case.
Right now, we are outside of the Ada Lewis Middle School, the old school in East Germantown. As you can see, cops are here. As you can see behind me over there, there are officers are back on the scene here. This is where they searched earlier this week for any signs of Kada Scott. Police sources now telling me that they have confirmed that human remains of a female have now been found way back in the wooded area behind the school. They tell me that the remains have been there for a week or less. So that's the new development right now. There are a lot of people out here just kind of watching and, of course, hoping for the best. But that's why police have been out here for the last hour, 2 hours or so. Human remains of a female have been found been out there for a week or less. I know our chopper is over some sort of blue tarp as well. So that's the breaking news. That's the latest. Stay tuned.
Kada Scott was 23 years old at the time of her disappearance in October 2025. She lived in Philadelphia and maintained regular contact with her family, who reported her car parked at her workplace the night she vanished. Publicly available records indicate that she had no prior criminal history, and those close to her stated that she did not appear to have known enemies. She had established social and professional networks, including co-workers at the senior living facility where she was employed and friends who were aware of her daily routines and activities. In the days preceding her disappearance, she reportedly received multiple harassing phone calls from unknown numbers, which she discussed with friends. Kada worked overnight shifts at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill, a senior living facility. Her responsibilities included overnight monitoring of residents, administrative reporting, and parking her vehicle on-site before starting her shift. She was scheduled for the overnight shift beginning at approximately 9:45 p.m. on October 4th, 2025. Beyond her work, she had personal aspirations. She participated in beauty pageants and was preparing for Miss Pennsylvania USA 2026 competition. This involved attending public appearances, practicing presentation skills, and managing social media to maintain visibility within pageant networks. Her daily routines included driving to work in her personal vehicle, arriving at the facility to park and clock in, and beginning her duties promptly. She was accustomed to regular social media activity and maintained consistent communication with friends and family through calls and texts. However, in the days leading up to her disappearance, investigators noted that she reported receiving multiple harassing calls from unknown numbers. In the hour preceding her disappearance, her phone received at least 12 calls from the same number, signaling potential prior contact from the individual later charged with her death. There is no public record that she filed a formal police complaint prior to October 4th, although authorities later reviewed call logs and text messages as part of the investigation. On October 4th, 2025, Kada left her residence and drove to the terrace at Chestnut Hill for her overnight shift. She arrived around 9:45 p.m., parked her car, and clocked in. Co-workers last saw her near the facility entrance shortly after her arrival. Security footage shows a dark-colored vehicle outside the facility, which left the area shortly after her arrival. At approximately 10:09 p.m., she exchanged a final text message with the man later charged, reading, "CM, call me when you hear." By 10:24 p.m., her phone stopped transmitting network signals. Surveillance recorded a dark-colored vehicle pulling into the parking lot near the abandoned school, where her remains were later discovered. Co-workers confirmed that Kada arrived as scheduled and interacted with staff normally. No unusual behavior was reported during this time. Security footage verified her presence and the presence of the suspect's vehicle near the facility. Phone pings and text logs confirmed continued communication with the suspect in the 2 days prior, including messages referencing kidnapping. Vehicle tracking data showed the suspect's car moving near the facility during the window of her disappearance. Kian King, age 21, has been identified as the primary suspect. Court documents indicate prior contact via text messages with Kada beginning October 2nd. On the night of October 4th, she sent the message, "Kidnap me again," to a number associated with him. King had a prior criminal record, including kidnapping and assault charges earlier in 2025 that were dropped when the alleged victim and witnesses failed to appear in court. Investigators are examining the connection between King and Kada, including previous interactions and the timeline of contact leading up to her disappearance. Following Kada Scott's disappearance, a missing person report was filed by her family. Police documented that her vehicle remained at the facility, and her lack of phone activity prompted immediate concern. Authorities requested public assistance, asking anyone with information to come forward. The unusual circumstances, an overnight shift disappearance coupled with prior reports of harassment, led to the case being escalated to the homicide unit. Investigators deployed K-9 units, drones, and search teams to survey wooded areas and abandoned properties nearby. Investigators began a systematic collection of evidence. Phone and text logs between Kada and King were retrieved. CCTV surveillance from the senior living facility and nearby areas was reviewed to track vehicle movements. Vehicles linked to King were observed near the facility and the abandoned school behind which her remains were later discovered. The stolen Hyundai Accent, reportedly used to transport Kada, was identified and later found burned, complicating recovery of forensic evidence. King's prior criminal charges from January 2025 were reviewed as they suggested a potential pattern of violent behavior. Vehicle evidence. Investigators determined that a Hyundai Accent stolen on October 3rd, 2025, was used to meet Kada the following night. Surveillance and GPS data indicated movement of the suspect's vehicles near the disappearance site. The stolen vehicle was later found burned on October 7th, making the retrieval of forensic evidence difficult. King's 1999 gold Toyota Camry was captured on surveillance near the abandoned school on October 5th. Video footage showed two individuals removing an object consistent with a human body from the trunk. Location evidence. A wooded area behind Ada H. Lewis Middle School in East Germantown became a focus of the search. Freshly disturbed dirt and a distinctive odor were noted. 2 weeks after her disappearance, human remains were discovered in a shallow grave following an anonymous tip. Investigators confirmed the remains were those of Kada Scott through DNA analysis. Personal property evidence. Recovered items included her bank card, phone case, glasses, and iPad case. The location and condition of these items suggested movement from a vehicle to the burial site, likely as part of an effort to conceal the crime. Phone and video evidence. Text messages between Kada and King demonstrated prior communication beginning October 2nd, with messages referencing kidnapping. Surveillance footage and vehicle tracking placed the suspect in vehicles at the parking lot adjacent to the school property on October 5th. Video shows two individuals moving a large object consistent with a human body from King's vehicle. Medical examiner findings. The medical examiner ruled Kada Scott's death a homicide. The cause of death was determined to be a gunshot wound to the head. Additional charges, including robbery, arson, tamper with evidence, and abuse of a corpse, were filed against King in connection with the disposal of her body and the burning of the vehicle. Here's the full write-out in plain text, straightforward and detailed, based on the outline and verified public facts. King is a 21-year-old man residing in Delaware and under investigation in Philadelphia for the disappearance and death of 23-year-old Kada Scott. His prior criminal history includes an earlier January 2025 case in which he was accused of kidnapping and strangling a woman. The charge was dropped after the victim, and a key witness failed to appear in court. At this stage, no public psychological profile has been released. In the present case, King faces an array of charges: murder, kidnapping, robbery, theft, arson, abuse of a corpse, tamper with evidence, conspiracy, unauthorized use of an automobile, and recklessly endangering another person. Bail was set at $2.5 million, and he is being held without bail on the murder charge. Investigators state there is video evidence indicating two people relocated what appear to be a human body, suggesting potential accomplices in the crime. On October 18, 2025, following an anonymous tip, human remains were located in a shallow grave behind the abandoned Ada H. Lewis Middle School in East Germantown, Philadelphia. Previously, investigators had searched the site twice. On the first search, they found personal items linked to Scott: bank card, phone case, glasses. Near vehicle. DNA testing by the medical examiner's office subsequently confirmed that the remains were those of Kada Scott. Crime scene analysis revealed surveillance video footage showing a vehicle arriving late at night, persons exiting the vehicle, and several hours later removing a heavy object consistent with the body and carrying it into the wooded area behind the school. Forensic examination found the cause of death to be a gunshot wound to the head, and the manner ruled homicide. The Philadelphia District Attorney's Office publicly announced murder and related charges against King and stated the investigation into potential accomplices was ongoing. Prior to October 4th, Scott received multiple harassing phone calls in the days before her disappearance. October 4th, 2025, night Scott arrived for her overnight shift at a senior living facility. Around 10:15 p.m., investigators say her phone ping shows her and King together near her place of employment. 6 minutes earlier, they exchanged texts. At 10:24 p.m., her phone went offline. At 10:28 p.m., a dark-colored vehicle pulled into the parking lot of the adjacent recreation center. October 5th, King's phone tracked multiple trips between his residence and the area around the abandoned school. Surveillance recorded a Toyota Camry, registered to King, at the recreation center lot at 11:39 p.m. Later at 4 a.m., two people were seen removing a heavy object from a vehicle trunk and carrying it toward the wooded area. October 7th, a stolen Hyundai Accent, believed used in the crime, was found burned. October 10th to 15th, investigators recovered vehicles and additional evidence. Property searches and warrants were executed. October 18th, remains of Scott were discovered. October 19th to 22nd, identification confirmed. Charges upgraded to include murder and related offenses. Medical examiner ruled death homicide by gunshot wound to the head. Stalking and harassment. Scott's repeated harassing phone calls prior to disappearance were not fully addressed. Repeat offender oversight. King's January kidnapping case was dropped due to witness non-appearance, highlighting prior system failures. Workplace safety. Scott was working an overnight shift and disappeared during routine work hours. Community awareness and tip lines. An anonymous tip led to the discovery of Scott's remains, showing the importance of public reporting. Forensic and investigative procedures. Investigators relied on cell phone tracking, surveillance video, vehicle forensics, forensic anthropology, and crime scene excavation to reconstruct the crime. Scott's family issued statements thanking the public and requesting privacy. Local residents expressed concern about safety in the neighborhood and the abandoned school site. Media coverage highlighted Scott's pageant involvement in youth, amplifying public attention. Legal scrutiny focused on the previous dropped case against King and the handling of prior offenses. Authorities continue to search for possible accomplices and examine systemic issues related to repeat offenders. King remains in custody awaiting trial on murder and related charges. The full motive, the relationship between Scott and King, and the complete timeline of events remain publicly unresolved. Investigators continue to pursue any potential accomplices. Lessons from the case include recognizing warning signs, the importance of prosecuting prior offenses, ensuring workplace safety, and using combined forensic methods effectively. The abandoned school behind which Scott's body was found stands as the final scene of the crime. Authorities continue to call for witnesses, emphasizing public awareness and the ongoing search for justice. Facts verified. Case concluded. Justice is found in what remains proven. This is Sunday Crime. Until the next investigation. Subscribe for more verified stories and real criminal investigations.